Hello, friends. Assalamu alaikum. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, my friends around the world. Myself, Habibur Rahman, your friend on Community Talks BD platform and Community Talks YouTube. After a month, I came back again. From my Facebook page, I was actually suffering from my acute pain on my ear. I was used to use time to virtual platform that was really tough for me to stay well and stay better time previous. So again today, actually I was missing you a lot. Today I'm very excited. After more than a month, I came back again with my respected guest from Australia on a very time-filled discussion that is how does dynamic mindset impact on immune system? Richard Hill from Australia with me today. Richard, welcome to this Community Talks platform. How are you?
I'm very well, and thank you very much for the invitation. It was wonderful surprise, and here I am in Bangladesh. How wonderful!
Yeah, Richard, I should say here actually from the very beginning of COVID-19, as you know, I'm a social worker, a practitioner, I should say, and beside basic, actually my career, I'm a faculty of social work in Bangladesh in a private university, more than 10 years. But I love to actually, I just thought at the beginning of COVID-19 that what can I do for the people or what can I do for the scholar and of course the community people. What should I do? I just thought a bit and I was in a dilemma. What should I do? And as a social worker, we can do two ways. One is giving logistic support, and another is go through sharing and caring. That definitely should be knowledge sharing or idea sharing. So many things are there. Then and there, I thought to practice and start this virtual platform that is Community Talks BD. This kind of talk show, you can say webinar, group discussion, a forum, right? And this is kind of reciprocity of knowledge, reciprocal exchange of knowledge. And I have started inviting my friends from different countries practicing international social work actually. Already, you will be very happy to know that more than 35 session is over, inviting so many friends around the world. You might see some of the sessions, and most of the friends I have been actually inviting from social work background, practitioners, academicians, researchers, psychologists, psychiatrists in different fields, also HR professionals, right? Mentor, hypnotherapists, therapists, those who are contributing this time to keep people actually revive lively during this time because COVID 19 actually collapsed. So far, I should say, collapsing our life around the world. People are not happy. So, dear friends, today we are on already with Richard Hill. Let me say about a little bit about Richard. Richard joining from Australia. Richard presents internationally on topics and human dynamics. Actually, he has so many works on human dynamics, communications, brain, which is very vital and tough, and of course scientific, brain and the mind, and his specialty in a special area that is curiosity and possibility, which we always look for. Why keep people becoming curious and why people look for possibility in their working areas and success and career. His work with the eminent current work with eminent Ernest Rossi. Dr. Rossi has led to the publication of the Practitioner's Guide to Mirroring Hands, which is not only about a particular technique developed by Rossi, but also a complete approach to therapeutic practice. I will ask Richard Hill this matter in our discussion. Before that, I should say he is the past president of Global Association of International Neurobiology Studies, which is a huge responsibility he did over the years. And he is current education director of the Science of Psychotherapy. He is the director of the Mind Science Institute and managing editor, honorable editor of the Science of Psychotherapy. Whole career of Richard actually is closely related to psychology, psychotherapy, right? Mindset, curious mindset, creativity of the people, possibility, confusion, frustration, and so many things are there over his whole career. And he's such a captivating personality who can really motivate people. So let's come to Richard Hill. Richard, how are you, and how you are passing time during this COVID with your, family mates and also offices?
Well, thank you very much. What a delightful introduction. I'm watching all the reflections because it's nighttime here, the evening. So I'm going to take my glasses off. Although you now look even younger than you were before. But yes, it's a great pleasure to be involved, and it's a great pleasure to share. Now, I am a great follower, and basically with my mentor Ernest Rossi, who has said to me always, "No more, so that you can be more excited about what you don't know." And so he has really, it's been more than just a mentor. He's been, oh my golly, it's been an apprenticeship. And you mentioned the book there. Of course, one has a copy on hand, but there's Mirroring Hands book. And when we were working on putting this together, I've been working with Ernest for nearly 16 years now. And he said, actually, you're doing all the work. You put your name on the cover first. And that's an enormous thing for someone of his stature to agree to, and to let me take the honor. And when we finally put it together, we did a little promotion, and he said to the camera, he said, "This is probably even better than I could have done." So we really have. I really feel that we are one voice, and we've become a louder voice. And so much of the work has been around curiosity and possibility. But Ernest and I don't really believe in just getting a good idea. We then want to go in and discover what that idea is all about. And in that way, perhaps we can enhance it. Perhaps we can take it somewhere else, which is exactly what we've done, as we'll talk a little bit more today, because I now have expanded my understanding of curiosity, that I no longer call it just curiosity, which is our general idea of wanting to learn how something works, what it's all about. But I actually call it dynamic curiosity, because there are three areas, three pillars of curiosity, and we'll talk about those as we go along, that generate the engagement with possibility. Because I love that thing, as you brought it on, people are looking for possibility. And it's sort of, if you're looking for possibility, then you may well be in the wrong place. Because what happens is that possibility suddenly becomes what surrounds you. And we'll discuss that a little bit more as we go in. But there's the teaser for the rest of the show. So leave that to you there. So perhaps you've got a question to push things on a little bit, Habibur.
Yeah. Thank you, Richard. Actually, today's topic, you could say, today's topic is self-explanatory sometime, and it has so many questions. It's assuming so many questions this time. How does dynamic mindset impact on immune system? And over a few months, we could hear and listen always from the social media that people should increase their immune system during this time, because no medicine, no vaccine is effective for getting recovery from this COVID-19. So only thing people can do, people can have a fresh mind, people can have a creative mind, people can have a resilient immune system through a proper mindset. So how actually should I ask you, how I should ask you like this: how come a creative mindset or a dynamic mindset or a curious mind can improve a resilient system, immune system this time, or any kinds of crisis time when there is a havoc or massive crisis track among the people?
Well, such a good question, of course, and there's lots in the answer. But let's just explore something first. Uh, is it true that our mindset affects how we feel? Is it true that that by having a more positive, a more engaged, more curious mindset, that you could possibly feel better? Well, that sometimes might be where we have to start. So I'm just going to do a little exercise with everybody who's listening, and you too, Habibur, and have a little look at this. And all I want you to do is I just want you to respond to a stimulus I'm going to give you. Now, it's very simple. It's just a word, but it's just a word, a sound. And I want you to just notice what is happening. And Habibur, I'm going to ask you to tell me what you feel at the end of the first part of this exercise, which only takes us about 10 or 15 seconds. So just in order to make it more effective, it's a good idea if you just close your eyes. So, Habibur and everybody listening, just close your eyes, and I want you to listen to this sound, this word I'm going to say, and notice what happens in your body, in your thinking, in your imagination. Just let it happen and tell me what happens. Okay, here we go. No.
Right.
No. Just
Yeah.
listen. No. 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 Okay. That's enough for a few things to happen. Now, just in this little moment of hearing that word, what sort of feelings did you notice? What sort of sensations did you get from hearing that word no? Did you notice anything, Habibur?
Great. Thank you. Thank you. I just could you hear me, Richard?
Yes, I can hear you. Yeah. I'm just wondering
Okay.
if when we were doing that little exercise of me say that word no, whether you were able to concentrate enough to get any sensations or any feelings or thoughts, or were you a bit distracted by doing the process? Because I can tell you what most people sort of do. Did you have any feelings yourself?
Yeah. I just thought when you were telling just like doing the exercise, no, right that way, right? So when people become detract from this, it's really it goes to be tough to be sensational in that way if he or
Yes.
she is attentive, right?
Yes, people tend to say they feel a sort of a pressure on their chest, or they feel a bit of a imposition, or they feel, some say they see dark colors, or they just or they remember something unpleasant when I say that particular one. But so see if you can do it now, because I know there's a lot going on. But you did the second part with me, and again, just see if you can notice your body and see what you think. But if not, I'll tell you what most people do, and I'll give you the second stimulus. So here it comes.
Mm-hmm.
Pay attention. Maybe just close your eyes and here it comes. Yes. 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 Okay. I mean, almost can just start with the beginning, because you did start to find your face was just naturally smiling a little bit. Was there anything
Mm-hmm.
else you noticed while doing that?
Great. Yeah. So when we are thinking yes, then it creates some positive feelings, and automatically, naturally, some smiling is coming
Yeah.
on the face. This is the
Yeah.
reflection. It work really.
And that's what people say. That people say a weight lifts up. It's almost the opposite of what happens to them when they say no. Now, the importance of that exercise and why that exercise is important is useful is for those of you out there who are listening and if you were participating and you felt some difference between the two words, particularly if the no word made you feel a little bit uncomfortable and the yes word made you feel very comfortable. That
Mhm.
is me changing the way your body is functioning, changing the way your brain is processing information, potentially changing your gene expression in the space of a minute, which is about how long we did the exercise for. I was able to take your sense of self into a negative frame, and I was able to bring you into a positive frame just with one word. So, what on earth is it like when there's 1,000 words and there's social disruption and there's political disturbance and there's advertising and there's news broadcasts and there's and it goes and then there's economic downturn and then there's lockdown. It just goes on and on. So the process of this particular disaster, like so many other disasters which has its problems, it's the process itself that creates the no energy in our experience. And without us even thinking about it, or even if we're trying to be cheery, it is causing a negative feedback and a downturn in our bodily functions and in our gene expression. And one of the first things that happens when we start to feel a little disturbed, a little stressed, is that we upregulate our sympathetic nervous system because we're ready, we're preparing ourselves for the danger so that we are safe, so that we can defend ourselves. And that's called inflammation. And inflammation is our immune system responding as if something bad is going to happen, because our nervous system doesn't know the difference between the word no, which has got all kinds of negative connotations from our history, and a saber-toothed tiger jumping out from behind a rock. So when a neuron fires in a negative way, it doesn't matter even if it's an imagination, let alone if it's all this external pressure from the world. It turns our system into a defensive system. And a defensive system prepares itself for illness. So then the trouble is that when we prepare ourselves for illness, what we do is we actually make ourselves weaker to the general frame of waiting, because what our system is waiting for is something to happen now. And when it doesn't happen now, it begins to turn against us. So all these pressures, all this press on the news reports, all these, we're watching in our own countries, I'm sure, our own disasters, but we're watching things happen in America, in England, in Italy, in Brazil. We're watching all these things on the news as well. They all are no stories. They're all no feelings. And these no's depress our system, make it inflame and become inflammatory. And then we've actually got an immune system that, when nothing is really happening, because it takes a while for things, we're not really dealing with anything in specific, our immune system is actually weakened because it's distracted. The best immune system we can have is actually the yes immune system. It's the immune system that is there, connected and centered, and not overreacting, not underreacting, just simply ready to react to a genuine threat, as different from an imagined threat. So this idea of trying to keep there's lots of things in keeping ourselves healthy. I mean, there's eating appropriately and all various things. Yeah.
Thank you. But I have a
Oh,
question.
good.
Actually, I'm still in doubt on that. In our mindset that you say, and we could learn from the book, we could see from the serial drama and so many films that the reflection is, they always suggest us to be positive, having positive mind, positive mindset, right? Always we should say yes rather than no. But I have a question to you, that what do we really mean by possibility?
Mm.
And is it really easy to do, or is it just an ideal that is hard to achieve?
Yeah.
Because and possibility is similar, and still we have so many problems. Just forget the poor people, forget the people having so many miseries, sufferings, demands, right, unmet needs, but still we are the people around the world being educated, having job, right, having good family structure, having met needs from all sides. Still we have so many options to say no rather than yes. So how we can make possibility through our positive mindset? Actually, that is my question.
Yes. Yeah. No, it's a very good question. Now, to some degree, my answer is if you have to think about having a positive mindset, you're already one step behind the game. In order to, like, if somebody has to think about being dry, it's probably because they're wet. Now, I am dry, so I don't think about being dry because I am dry. If I were wet, I wouldn't think about being wet because I am wet. What we have is a situation where we're dry and we keep wanting to be wet, or we're wet and we want to be dry. Our biggest detraction from being able to access our possibilities is that we are distracted by the possibilities that other people think we should be doing. As you say, there are people with difficulties and unmet needs and socially disadvantaged. Quite a lot of those people around the world are much happier, or rather, they're much more accepting of their situation and much more creative with what they've got than people who are halfway up the ladder, who are going, well, I've got the mortgage and I've got the children and I've got the education bills. Then you're under stress. Then you're under tension to keep achieving and succeeding, and this can be a great pressure. So when we talk about possibilities, the first place to look at is that you are a self. The possibilities of yourself, the possibilities for you. So let's say, for example, I'm distressed. I'm troubled. Yes, well, the COVID. There's a shutdown. I've lost my job. I have bills to pay. It's terrible. It's terrible. It's terrible. No, 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 no. My immune system flares up. I all fall apart. The key is to be able to reopen and reconnect yourself with what you need to know, what you don't know, which is your possibilities. Now, the thing is, when you were 5 years old, all you had was possibilities. You had a few experiences, but pretty much everything about your life was what was to come, was what was you could invent, was what you would yet to learn. And it's very hard to imagine, like even now at 65 years of age, that I still have not engaged with and entertained all the possibilities of my life. Most people at my age have they're kind of settling down and saying, well, I've done enough now. I know enough. I'll just be happy with what I've got. Me, I'm always interested and curious about what's next, what's more. So let's look at that scenario of the person who is, I've lost my job. I need to make some income. I can fall into a hole, and be a disaster and get depressed or anxious or distressed. But I can also go, okay, now this is interesting. And it's very hard this takes a lot of practice, and eventually it just becomes a way of life. But to say, no, this isn't terrible, this is interesting. I have a whole bunch of interesting things happening. I've got to be interested in them because they mean something, because that's what we're looking for. What do they mean? Okay, I've lost my job. There's no work. I've got bills to pay. So now I say, well, what is that really all about? Not just the superficial things of I've lost my job, but what does it mean to have lost my job? Okay, I'm not doing the income. What does it really mean? It means I have to go and find something more. If I've lost my job, I need to go and find another one. Okay, well, if that means that, well, what do I create with that? What do I create out of that realization that if I've lost my job, then that's telling me the message is I need to go and find a job. I know it's difficult, but still that's the message. So what do I create? So then I'm able to start thinking, I say, what are my skills? What are my skills? What am I actually able to do? How can I apply that to earning income? And here's a great example of this turning what is the accepted realities, what you're usually doing, into something new or unusual and surprising, is that a lot of people working for our airlines, the Qantas Airlines group, the people working as stewards on the airplanes, they all got together and they, as a group, they'd said, well, what are our skills? Well, we talk to people, we look after them, we're in the service industry, we know how to solve people's problems. So a lot of these people, anyway, a lot of these Qantas stewards have gone and got jobs on phone lines talking to people about how to deal with their COVID problems. So they've actually taken the skills they have and imagined a different possibility, found something new that can engage them and give them the thing they need, which is their employment. So that's the framework of that's a very realistic framework, not just an idealistic framework, of using your curiosity to find what is meaningful that you can take in and create something brand new.
Great, wonderful. But during this time, COVID-19, coronavirus, the virus cannot be seen, cannot be touched, felt even, right? People are getting sick. Everybody in curious mind that what is the virus, how we can get rid from that virus. So all people are in a puzzle situation. So actually my concern is, Richard, does a curiosity oriented mindset benefit our immune system when
Oh,
dealing
yeah.
with something like COVID-19, right? It's a great concern nowadays.
Absolutely. The thing with the curiosity, if you can become curious about the events that are occurring to you, as I say, that's interesting. Be interested in what the events are. And that way, in order to be interested, in order to look into the possibilities of something, which is what curiosity, particularly dynamic curiosity, is about, looking not only for what it is, but what it's about and what it means, you need to move forward. You need to move towards it. So you can't be afraid of it. So when I'm curious, you go, oh, that's interesting. There's just this, oh, and you just move forward a bit. Now, that means that you are triggering serotonin and calming your amygdala. And you have to in order to be able to be less fearful. It also means that instead of being afraid and fearful of what you're experiencing, you actually have to turn on some dopamine, which moves your what's called positive anticipation. You say, well, that's interesting. I wonder what there is to find. You also then trigger your reward systems, because these are very important. So 3 systems: your focus of attention, so that your thinking brain, because you know that when you get stressed, your thinking brain turns off. So it focuses on that, and it operates your reward system, which is your internal sort of pain relieving mechanisms. Now, all these processes, you cannot, while doing those curiosity processes, be stressed, be angry, and be fearful. They're opposite poles. You have a totally different biochemical mix that you've naturally created. You don't have to take pills or do anything. So when you reduce that stressful impact, when you reduce those cortisols and those inflammatory processes of fear, your immune system, by nature, not by any peculiarity, but just is allowed by its own nature to be at its greatest point of strength. So that's why curiosity changes the way your brain is functioning, which then changes the way your body is able to respond to difficulties. And I'll go briefly about what those difficulties are in a moment, but that's principally the answer of why curiosity benefits.
If I ask you, Richard, just another addition from my side to the previous question, curiosity, is it just an immune system concern, or what it does influences on our mental health or attitude, right?
Now here's the other thing which is really important. No one thing does one thing in the human body, or actually in the universe, but let's not get too carried away. In the human being, no one thing does one thing. One thing has the potential to affect everything. This is what we call the difference between a linear system, where, like I throw a rock, and if I calculate the gravity and the force and things, I can tell roughly where the rock will land. But no, we live in a complex system. And in a complex system, small things can totally change the outcome and give you something surprising and unexpected. I could throw my rock. I've done my mathematics and I've done my cause and effect. I know roughly where it'll land. But unfortunately, a bird flew along while I threw the rock in the middle, and it hit the bird, but then it got caught in the bird's wing and it flew off, and now my rock ends up somewhere totally unexpected. Then the people who were expecting my rock to land in the circle where I was throwing it to doesn't happen, and everything suddenly starts to change and shift. So when you change this biochemical milieu, this biochemical balance, by moving into a different mindset, of which curiosity, in my thinking, is the best mindset to go into, then your mood moves into a positive mood. That's what I'm saying. By being curious, you have to stop being fearful. You can't be angry while curious. You can't be afraid while curious, because you can't be moving forward and backward at the same time. It eases your sense of confusion because it clarifies the way you're thinking. So there are lots of different avenues that are opened up. But just to give an example, when you were saying we have COVID-19, it can't be seen, it can't be touched, and how do I keep clear of it? Now, the average person in that linear thinking is going, yeah, what is the answer to those questions? I don't do that. I go, okay, so this thing can't be seen, it can't be touched, but we want to keep clear of it. Okay, that's interesting. So it can't be seen, can't be touched, got to keep clear of it. So what is that all about? Well, that means I can't wander around trying to use my seeing, my visual senses or my touching senses to protect myself from it. I've got to use some other way of understanding. Now, fortunately, we get a little bit of new information from the scientists, and they say it spreads by droplets, by moisture droplets that come out of our mouth. So I go, okay, that's interesting. So if it spreads by moisture droplets coming out of my mouth or coming from somebody else's mouth into mine, if I put something in front of my mouth and nose, then that should be helpful. Oh, that's interesting. I should try that. Now, of course, we know that's a mask. And if it's something I can't see and I can't touch and I don't know how to do, but I can put a barrier to it, then I should do it. And strangely, in this strange world, I mean, particularly America, and some Australia's doing it too, people are going, I don't want to do that. But that's interesting. Why are they doing that? And what is it that we can create with that very strange behavior? And one of the things is, I'm going to keep away from somebody who's not wearing a mask. It's pretty simple. And so we tend to have these then avoidant behaviors. There's all kinds of these, but it all rolls on, and there's another problem, another problem. But if you're curious, you go, okay, here's another problem. Oh, that's interesting. Now, where do I go? What do I create with that? So it's always leaving the door of possibility open that makes these very, very difficult circumstances, which have constant problems rolling in from the environment, bearable.
Great talk, Richard. And over last few months, I have been thinking that to solve COVID-19, behind this is itself a big problem. This is a multi-dimensional problem, but there are so many problems behind it to solve COVID-19. So what problem should we think one of the main problems to solve COVID-19 that you think, actually, what is your suggestion for us, how we can identify that this is the main problem, or what has been one of the main problems in managing COVID-19?
Yeah, because I think it's inherent in, again, those three statements that you said. It can't be seen, it can't be touched, and I don't know how to avoid it. So I need to find somebody else who can see it, who can touch it, and who can figure out how to solve it. So it just is sensible and creative to open the possibility of finding somebody who is very clever, who understands germs and understands viruses and understands perhaps vaccines or something. And I'm talking as though they don't exist, but of course they do. So the biggest problem that we've had in the approach and the management of COVID-19 is that we need good science, and that in the early stages, the science wasn't sure, it wasn't clear, because it was new. They were trying to figure it out too, because they couldn't see it or touch it or know what to do with it. And so it's been a combined problem of us not knowing who to trust, and those people that we should trust having difficulty in solving the problem. So really the biggest problem is that knowing who to trust and knowing what behaviors were the most or the best advice to follow. And so we've had all around the world some people agreeing with the government, some people saying this and it working, some people saying something else and it not working, people in the population obeying it or disobeying it. So the biggest problem we've had is not that we've had a difficulty, not that we've had an enemy to fight. It's we've not fought it together. We've not fought it as a unified species. And so I think that's actually been its greatest problem. And that is the possibility. How do we bring ourselves together to combat these difficulties?
It's a real concern and great concern, really. How we can come together, this is a big concern. Around the world, every country, people are thinking like this. This is somehow created by the unseen almighty gods, or someone or some scientists may create this. But problem is, to solve this problem, COVID-19, which cannot be touched, cannot be seen, but can be combated by our unified force that you mentioned. I completely agree with you. And for that, we have so many possibilities. We have positive mind, we have curious mind, but we should come together with that curious sense and the alternatives to combat this COVID-19. But problem is that I could say around my houses and office in my country that nowadays, that excellent term you mentioned, to know who to trust, which is very important, because there are some infodemic, right, mistransmission or mistransformation of thoughts, ideas, data, even about COVID-19, and where to spread it, right, and to control it. and it's turned to be a business in different way, because some curious people have been taking this as an opportunity to expand their business profits, right? They're actually live. They're thinking to change their lifestyle, but still it's a big problem because people are being affected. People are being actually dying, having suffocation, throat problem, and so many other symptoms. But still, we are in some dark situation that which is really happening nowadays over last few months, and how we can get rid from the situation which is really collapsing our mind. But
Mm.
that you said, I love it, that we should have always positive thinking, positive mind, with some hope of possibilities that really we can do, we can face it, being together, right? Having unified efforts and progressive mindset. But one thing still I'm thinking, that people actually, those who are in need of food or money, they can get back this education. It's repayable, it's renewable even, because after some days students or young generations might get that. But still problem is, as it's creating diverse mental health crisis among the people in different stages. And oppositely, we are telling that we're staying at home with our family members, our seniors, I mean our kids and juniors. But still there are so many problems, because people are detached from their job, right, from their regular activities, from their actually other lifestyles that they were used to. But this time, though we are telling this is new normal, already normalized, but still it's creating agony and mental turmoil situation in all stages of people's lives. So it's a great concern, I think. And after a few months, COVID might be or might not be finally finished, removed. It's very uncertain, but mental health problem, it already caused, and it will cause a long effect really in
Yeah.
human civilization. So,
And we,
what is common here?
but we need to look at that. So there's one thing, like there's this idea of positive thinking, just saying everything will be okay. And of course, stupidly, the American president has been saying that in a stupid way, which has been useless, as it turns out. I mean, it's extraordinary to see a big country like that tearing themselves apart over these very issues you're talking about. But this is what I try and teach with the dynamic curiosity. It's not to shy away from those questions. Okay, we are not cohering. We are not coming together as a people, and we're also suffering enormously by this break in what our normal way of life. So that has to be interesting. Now, what's interesting about that? What is that? We have to move towards it and try and understand. And what's interesting about it is that there's a relationship that we have as an individual to the what we would call, I suppose, most simply called the economy. This flow of money and career and so forth. That there's a relationship that we have to that that's actually not that good. That when we now see that we have to choose between the economy succeeding and people surviving, that it's a difficult choice, and people are suffering because of it. If we choose to help people survive by staying home and by restraining, wearing a mask, doing all those various things, that actually that means we don't have enough money to buy food and to eat and to continue education and so on and so forth. So what it's presented to us is an enormous slap in the face of the system that we have built up, of the mechanism of social mechanism that we've built up, and we've actually been shown that it doesn't care about people first. It actually cares about the system itself. We've got to keep the education going. We've got to keep the economy going. We've got to keep the politics going. So this is a very difficult question. It is one of the most damaging ones for mental health that I think people are suffering. I think there's lots of bits and pieces that are, say, people say are worrying them, but really what's worrying them is they say, I get the feeling I don't matter, that I don't count. I could die of COVID. I could starve to death because I haven't been able to get any work. And if that happened, the system doesn't care. And this has been to be uncared for by the community that we thought we lived in is a very, very difficult thing to manage. So we need to grasp that and say, let's change it. Let's make it that we do care. Now, can we change everybody in one big go and make everything better? No, of course not. No one's ever been able to do that. But we need to start with the person that we can influence the most, the person that we can do the greatest amount of change to center that person and to make that person understand that it's time to take a hold of connection and engagement. It's not just positive thinking, it's engaged, connected thinking. And that person, of course, is ourselves. We are the one that we can start with. And maybe then we can move to our partners, our spouse, our families, our children. And one by one, we need to revitalize this. And I think there have only been a few occasions when, on a world basis, we can realize that we need to come together in order to be able to succeed. And perhaps that's been it's at the end of a couple of the wars, of the world wars. Maybe that was a time. I wasn't alive then, so I don't know. But this, more than any other time that I can remember, is when everybody is in the same situation. But as you say, and as I see as well, some people, there seems to be two camps, at least two, if not many more. So yes, it's very difficult. So we've got to keep being curious and keep finding another better way.
That's great, Richard. Actually, I do completely agree with this that we should look for the better alternative, having positive mind, positive thought, and you will be very happy to know this platform. This is very recognized as a global platform, interaction platform. I thought community actually. I'm just madly moving to work for the community. Like I have formed foundation which is licensed, I mean government registered, that is called Community Social Work Practice and Development Foundation. Actually, when I taught my students community social work practice in my classroom, it touched my heart that community is such a term. Actually, if we can promote this term positively, then community and society, I mean human mind might be changed. It's possible because community comprises of three terms, that is we feeling, which is very important. Community term never suggests to use I. It suggests to use we feeling, right? Feeling for others that you mentioned. And another is rule feeling, that you have ourselves, you have some responsibilities, I have some responsibilities and duties, work for the people, other people around me. And third option is locality sentiment, which is very important. We are just forgetting this. That's why we are trying to get good things, good environment, good family, good community, but we are not actually putting efforts to make the community, make the society livable, better, friendly, sustainable. That is the main thing. I think we are suffering a lot, and the basic challenge this time is who to trust and who to just give faith on. It's very difficult question because
That's right. And
right.
if we look at them as extending circles, we start making one circle safe. And this is what is beautiful about what you have done. Did you imagine 2 years ago, 3 years ago, that you would be sitting here with a community uh, internet platform that was able finally to express your feelings that have been around for a long time, that this is what was necessary. This is in itself a possibility that has become a reality.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's great.
You know, and and
This,
and I just, there's one more thing I want to say, just in what you're saying, just before you go to the next bit. This beautiful word responsibility. Now, I think that word's been kind of spoilt a little bit, because we think of responsibility as what's right and wrong, what's our fault, what's good and bad, and if you're responsible, then you have to do something. That's not what the word really means. What the word means is to be response able. And what people do with these pressures and with these stresses is they stop responding. So you were response able. You weren't quite sure what that ability would take you to. So you just let yourself into the possibility sphere, and out of it emerged this community program. And already new ideas and other ideas in your students. There's new ideas that are coming. You have the wonderful student who's helping you with the technical aspects of things. When did he think he was going to sit around and be talking to an Australian fella? A man from Australia.
you're
All
right.
these things become doorways of expansiveness. Certainly, what's behind us is, we're stuck with that. But the front can always be open and expansive if we let it.
True. So we are very close to the end. Next 8 to 9 minutes, we'll be
Oh,
here.
wow. Yeah.
Richard, can you speak some words for my students? How they can be happy? How they can stay safe and healthy time? How they can look for the possibilities for their personal, family, and community care? If you can please just make some points for my students in my university, my fellow students of other universities, right? So how we
Yeah.
can suggest them that they can come quiet.
Okay. So we have a whole bunch of issues. Sure. We have a whole bunch of difficulties without the COVID, with it being at university, with our studies and exams. I've done them. I've got 4 degrees. I know what it's like. And the issue is not what it is. What it is just the springboard to take you off into what could become because of it. So you have you're very stressed because of an exam. Well, I don't want you to be stressed because of exam, but there's a couple of things that you are telling yourself. One is, this exam is really important. Well, okay, it's really important. That's good. Should I be stressed because it's important? Well, that's silly. It's just important. The other one is, maybe I haven't done enough work. That's another one. Well, then you better go down and do some work. The other one is, I have to live up to other people's expectations. What's that all about? There's something to consider. Instead of going, oh, this is terrible, this is terrible. No, 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 no. Just saying, oh, that's interesting. But here's the big key. Whatever is bothering you, whatever is troubling you, what else is it about? And what can you create because you have that trouble? And the biggest example is your teacher who has said, I want to talk to people. And then he went out and created it. Now, you've done it by going on this platform. You're a bit older. But for a student, that might be just looking across the aisle and seeing one of their fellow students who's more upset about their problems than they are. Well, why don't you go and give them a hand? Why don't you go and offer them some kindness? Because here's one of my very, very favorite sayings. In the service of others, we find the kindness in ourselves. And it is in the kindness in ourselves that we discover the connection with others. And that is what makes us healthy. And that is what makes us human.
Thank you for your very, very kind words. Actually, this is true. That's true because people cannot live alone. If you want to live alone, definitely he will be very negative rather than positive, because when people start thinking for other people, automatically he turns to be positive and having so many possibilities. He has so many alternatives that you mention, and I agree completely this because I should be that example also here. I have so many problems still like other people because you and me are not alien. We are not actually isolated from other people, other I mean society and family. Still, we have so many needs and demands. Still, we have horrorsome thinking for the COVID-19. What time we even be affected, right? We're losing temper. We have so many financial crises, maybe, and other so many problems, even because the world is not going similarly like previous years. So it's equally problematic for all. But thinking is, I do believe he is different man who can does the same thing differently. We have the problem similarly, but we have to create, we have to just make this problem to the opportunities. I think we should make the challenges to opportunities, then we can be really happy, happier, healthier, right? And our look might be changed, might be positive, definitely. And the thing is that you mentioned communication that we are doing. Really, I love to do communication. I think it, like I knock you so many times, I try to communicate you so many days that if you can talk to me, other people with this platform affiliated, they can see this, they can listen your voices, right? Wonderful comments and discussions. They at least if they might get one word suitable for their life, they might be benefited from that. I should invite you because everybody definitely necessarily shouldn't have equal opportunities to communication and other possibilities. So as I have that possibility, I should go on. I should invite you. I should invite other friends to make a platform, and just sharing and caring process should be on.
Well, it would be my pleasure to participate in anything that you organise, because this has been a delightful experience, and you may not know that actually I've got quite a connection with the social work community, and I've been in various places. I've been in Nepal a number of times, and over in the Near East, and so done. So I have a connection. I've got some. I've done some writing in various books for social work, so I'm very familiar with what you do. Yeah, it's
Very
wonderful.
good. And you will be happy. You will be delighted to know in Bangladesh from 2014 or 15, I started first to celebrate World Social Work Day officially here, and
Oh, very good.
yeah, me and my students organizing a colorful day celebration through some seminar, group discussion, forum, and last 3 years, 2018, 2019, and 2020. This year it was postponed due to COVID. I have been organizing 2 days international conference, regular conference.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah, based on the theme of World Social Work Day. So it's being branded, and my mission is actually with a clear vision to see social work, not only social work, I mean like counseling, which is very important. And always I feel like thinking that social work cannot be fulfilled without strong support of psychology, because without psychology, social work definitely is it's just like an skeleton without heart, because it's very important having the knowledge from the psychology or from the psychiatric social worker, psychiatric friends. So it's actually interrelated, interlinked. Without one's knowledge, another is sometimes not properly possible, actually, that thing. So another 40 seconds, Richard. This is your turn just to say hello or goodbye. And I'm very happy. My turn is I'm very happy to have you here from even having tight schedule. You are very busy, I know, but you spend 1 hour for me with my audience and fellow friends. Richard, how you can
My, My great pleasure. And there was a little message from Amit there. And here is yes, and some more people just putting in little messages. Lovely that you've been out there listening. And we hope that people listen to the recording as well. But for now, I think it might be time. I'm just looking at my clock. Might be time for me to go to bed. I'm an old man. I need my sleep, but it's a little later in the afternoon for me. But thank you all so much for being here.
Richard, very soon I might invite you again because I also arrange some webinar coming days. So definitely, I hope you will join us soon. Right?
Yeah, it would be my great pleasure. I look forward to it.
Thank you again from my side. Stay safe, stay blessed always. Thank you, Richard. Thank you.
Okay. Bye for now.
Bye.